Good morning, everybody. It's Friday, and Shabbat is almost here. In a few hours, we will be watching the funeral of Bruce Finn. Sadly, not together, but there'll be a live feed. I'll post the link in the chat here so everybody can see how to log into the live feed for Bruce's funeral. And I want to share Dvar Torah. And again, this Dvar Torah really makes me think about Bruce, and I want to dedicate it to the merit of his neshama, of his soul. The Dvar Torah is that this week's Parsha is called Parshas Yisro. And Yisro was the father-in-law of Moshe. And the first verse in the Parshas is Vayishma Yisro. Yisro heard. Wow. Yisro heard? Somebody heard something. That's huge. Just hearing is a big thing. And he heard, what did he hear? He heard everything that had happened to the Jewish people, and Rashi expounds on this, and he had heard about the miracles of the parting of the sea, and he heard about this war that took place immediately afterwards. That's really impressive. But in a sense, it's not that impressive, because Rashi comments earlier in last week's Parsha, who heard about the parting of the sea? He says, quoting the Talmud, that the whole world heard about it. Everybody knew. So what does it mean by Yishma Yisro? Yisro heard. Jethro heard. Everybody heard. The whole world knew. It was all over Facebook. It was all over Twitter. Parting of the Red Sea, miracles with the plagues in Egypt for the Jewish people. The whole world knew. So what made Yisro different than anybody else? And the answer is the whole world heard. And then what did they do? Went right back to their lives, back to work, back to making money, back to worrying about what college my children are going to get into so that they can get a good job, so that they can work, so that they can make money, so that they can send... What did Yisro do? He heard, and he immediately changed his life. He transformed himself. He left everything he was doing. He was the Kohen Midjan. He was that chief big dude in Midjan. He was the head of all the idolatrous practices there. And all of a sudden, he changed everything. He said, what? There's a nation that God performs open miracles for? You know what? I am going to join them. And he gave up his life and his fame and his wealth and his reputation. He packed his bag and he traveled to the desert to find these Jewish people and to join them. It's not that Yisro heard. It's that Yisro heard because there is hearing and there is hearing. I shared this in my Parsha Unpacked class the other night, but I remember my rabbi, my teacher in Israel and Jerusalem told me how he got to Jerusalem. It was 1967. It was the 6-day war. And open miracles took place during those 6 days. This little tiny country, 19-year-old fledgling country that should have been destroyed, that was going to be decimated, somehow miraculously, open miracles turns around and wipes out the Jordanian army and the Egyptian Air Force and the Syrians. How is that possible? So when he heard that what had happened, he said, this is amazing. I have to be a part of this. And he picked up and he left his job as a lawyer in Baltimore, and he moved to Israel, and he never left. Now, how many people heard the story of the 6-day war? Everybody. It was all over the news. It was knowledge that everybody had. But there's hearing and there's hearing. Most people heard about the 6-day war and said, wow, cool, that's amazing, wow. And then went right back to their business. My rabbi heard about the 6-day war, and he said, wait a minute. I've got to change my life. This is huge. And he left. And the reason why this makes me think about Bruce is because of all the people I've known throughout the years that have come to L'Chaim Center to learn, Bruce stands out in a way that's truly special because he didn't just learn, he learned and changed. Everything he learned, he put into practice. He allowed what he learned to penetrate his heart and his soul and to transform himself into a different person. And you saw it every time. Every time. The growth that he had was incredible and remarkable. His legacy was you can hear and really hear and change. And we'll never forget that. Okay, wishing everybody Shabbat Shalom and see you all next week at Shabbos.